Everyone nodded. The recap looked clean, and then 3 different things happened next. And that's one of the most frustrating patterns inside leadership teams, because it doesn't look like disagreement in the moment. Nobody leaves the room angry. Nobody sends a follow-up saying, "I disagree with the direction." Nobody makes it obvious that the decision didn't land. Everyone just leaves the room with a slightly different assumption about what was decided. One person heard it as a green light to build. Another heard it as permission to keep researching. A third heard it as a pause until next quarter. Same meeting, same nods, 3 different execution paths. And that is alignment drag. And it's easy to miss because the meeting itself can look quite clean. The conversation felt productive. The recap captured the main points. The tone was good. There was no visible conflict. But alignment is not proven by how calm the meeting felt. Alignment is proven by what happens after people leave the room. Do people move in the same direction? Do they understand the same trade-off? Do they know what moving forward actually means? Do they know what changed because of the decision? That's where the gap usually shows up. Not in the recap, in the work. A founder checks in 2 weeks later and realizes one team has started building, another is still collecting inputs, and another has parked the whole thing because they thought the decision was not final. Now someone has to quietly course correct. But the team rarely names the real issue. They say things like, "We may have a communication gap," or "Let's tighten up the follow-up," or "We should make the next recap clearer." And those may help, but sometimes the real issue is deeper than communication. The team didn't leave with a shared interpretation of the decision. They left with shared language but different meaning. And that's a very different problem. A clean phrase like "moving forward" can hide a lot. Moving forward could mean build the thing. It could mean keep exploring. It could mean prepare a recommendation. It could mean test with one customer. It could mean stop debating and commit. If nobody slows down to define it, each person fills in the meaning based on their role, pressure, priorities, and assumptions. Then the assumption travels back into the work. And once that happens, the decision starts to fragment. This is what I think of as decision residue. It's the leftover ambiguity that felt settled in the room but wasn't actually closed. The room looked aligned, the residue showed up after people left, and by then, the work had already moved. The fix is not to make every meeting longer. It's not to overprocess every decision. It's to add a short translation check before people leave the room. Not, does everyone agree? That question often will get a nod. Instead, ask something more useful. What did we just decide? What does moving forward mean here? What are we not doing because of this decision? What does each person need to do differently after this meeting? What would reopen this decision? Those questions make the assumption visible, and once the assumption is visible, the team can actually work with it. Someone might say, "I thought we were still researching." Someone else might say, "I thought we were ready to build." That's not a problem. That's the moment you catch the drag before it leaves the room. It's much cheaper to find the gap while everyone is still sitting there than to find it 3 weeks later in missed work, duplicated effort, or quiet frustration. So the next time a meeting feels aligned, don't just stop at the nods. Don't stop at the recap. Take one more minute and ask whether the team heard the same decision, because agreement in the room is only the first step. The real test is whether the decision carries into execution without turning into 3 different versions of itself. And that is exactly the kind of pattern that my hidden drag diagnostic is built to surface. It helps you spot where decisions, alignment, ownership, and structure are creating drag inside the business. You'll find the link in the description. And if your leadership team keeps leaving clean meetings and still moving in different directions, connect with me. I help founder-led teams find the hidden drag underneath that pattern and close the gaps before they turn into stalled execution. If this was useful, subscribe for more practical thinking on decision velocity, hidden drag, and how leadership teams get unstuck. and be sure to share it with someone whose team keeps nodding in the room, then splitting in the work. And be sure to follow along for more. My name is Warren Winowski. Thanks for watching.